Hello everyone, welcome to FPA Learning. My name is Rabbi Alam and today I'm going to talk about commodity classification. In fact, last week I posted a question on LinkedIn as a poll for commodity classification. This is just because I used to get a lots of query regarding the correct commodity classification for the warehouse protection as per NFPA 13. So I just posted it on LinkedIn to get the idea about the various engineering professionals in the fire protection field and the reference I mentioned, which is NFPA 13, right? So the question was non-combustible material or products stored within corrugated cartons, right? And which is placed on pallets. There it is, right? What shall be the commodity classification based on NFPA 13, right? And the answer you can see around 65% of people selected class 2, 11% for class 3, and 9% for the class 4, and yeah, group A plastic, which is 15%. So thanks for your poll, your time consideration. Now let's look at NFPA 13. What it says that, what it says for the commodity classification. So if you go to chapter 20, which is for the general requirement for storage, and under 20.3 under classification of commodities, 20.3.1.1, right? What it says, the type and amount of materials used as part of the product and its primary packaging as well as storage pallets shall be considered in the classification of the commodities, right? So we have to look at the product and how it is packaged in the cartons and on which we have stored. There is a pallets, right? So that's pallets also we need to consider, right? So now class 2 commodities, most of my friend selected for the class 2 commodities, which is for, so while selecting that answer, you must be assume that if you are going to class 1 commodities, right? Class 1, it is mostly non-combustible products, right? So you are fine up to this point, non-combustible products, right? And that is stored within corrugated cartons, right? Corrugated carton. Now, if it is a single layer cartons or multi-layer cartons, that is not given in the answer, right? So if it is a multi-layer cartons, we have to assume that one. Also, class 1 is not there in the option. So our answer is class 2. And up to this point, up to the cartons with the combustible product, our answer is class 2, right? But around 65% of people who voted for this one, they forget about the pallets, right? There is no information about the pallets. What is the types of pallets, right? So basically we have two types. We have wooden pallets and we have the plastic pallets. There is no information that you are going to use plastic pallets or wooden pallets. So one of the best engineering practice, even NFPA 13 also focus that if you don't know exact pallet size, you have to use the one which is which lasts for a long time in case of fire or which have high heat release rate, right? So we have two types of the pallets. If it is a wooden pallets, it can be considered as class 2. It can be considered as class 2 commodities. But if it is a plastic pallets, right? That's what we have to look, because plastic pallets have high heat release rate and they increase the hazards of the protective facilities. Under the plastic pallets, we have two types. We have unreinforced plastic, and we have reinforced, right? Let me have a look at these two, how it looks like. So if you look at these cartoons, right? So it mostly comes under as a single layer cartoon or multi-layer cartoon. So we assume it as multi-layer cartoon, and we assume class 2 product because non-combustible product packaged inside the cartoon. So up to this point is class 2 product. Now we don't know it's a plastic pallets or wooden pallets. It's just a pallets, right? So we have to choose plastic pallets. Now under plastic pallets, if the question says it is a reinforced plastics, but it is not given here in the description. It is just saying it's placed on the pallets, right? So based on that, we'll try to find out what is the requirement for the reinforced plastics. Mostly it's a plastic, but inside that one they have steel, reinforced steel inside that one to make this pallet tough, hard. And if you can see these openings around, because of the reinforcement, this will not collapse easily in case of the fire, and there will be enough supply of oxygen. So it will continuous burn for so many hours, so many minutes, and because of that, not hours, but it burns for more time, and because of that, it will give more heat release rate. Because we have continuous combustion, we have supply of oxygen, and the steel is making the integrity of the pallets. That's the required. That is the function of the steel for these pallets. This is why they are using these pallets. Now let's go to NFPA 13 and look out how to come to our solution, right? So moving back to NFPA 13, under the plastic pallets, they are saying if it is under 23.221, if it is unreinforced plastic pallets, right, that have no secondary reinforcing, shall be treated as unreinforced plastic pallets. Now the next point, 20.3.2.1.1, talk about for class 1 to 4 commodities, which is unreinforced polypropylene or unreinforced high density polyethylene plastic pellets, use the classification of the commodity unit shall be increased 1. So basically our product, non-combustible product within corrugated cartons, the class 2, but if it is placed on a wooden pallets, then one is a class 2. If it is placed on plastic pallets and that pallet is unreinforced plastic, we have to increase 1 classification of that. So class 2 will become now class 3, right? Moving on to the next one. Which is reinforced plastic pallets. But before that, we'll look at 23.2.2.1, which talk about unreinforced pallets shall be marked with a permanent symbol to indicate that the pallet is unreinforced. So for a pallets, there is no marking whether it's a reinforced or unreinforced. You have to assume that is a reinforced pallets because it lasts for so long. It will give more heat from the fire and continuous supply of oxygen from this open areas, right? So this is why NFPA says that one. If you don't know exact classification, you have to increase 1. Now look at the reinforced plastic pellets. So it is a plastic as per 23.2.2.2, which is a plastic pellets incorporating a secondary reinforcing material such as steel or fiber or glass within the pallet shall be considered reinforced plastic, right? Now 23.2.2.1 talk about for class 1 to 4 commodities, when reinforced polypropylene or reinforced high density polyethylene plastic pallets are used, the classification of the commodities units shall be increased 2 classes, except for class 4, which shall be cartooned non-expanded group A plastic, right? Now the next paragraph, 20.3.2.2.2.2 talk about pallets shall be assumed to be reinforced. Pallets shall be assumed to be reinforced if no permanent marking or manufacturer certification of non-reinforcement is provided. So basically, if you don't know exactly what is the types of pallets under plastic, you have to use the highest one, which is the reinforced plastic. Now moving on to our slides and try to capture what actually we got from this one, right? So let me recap here. So we have a non-combustible product, right? We have non-combustible product. Let's say it might be a class 1 or class 1, right? Now this one stored in corrugated carton. Corrugated carton, right? But they have not mentioned it is a single layer or multi-layer. So we will assume class 1 non-combustible product as class 1 stored within multi-layer corrugated carton, right? For class 2. Multi-layer. Now, if you're moving on, they have not given any information of the pallet side, right? So basically, for the pallets, if it is a wooden pallets, right? So anything is non-combustible materials within corrugated carton placed on wooden pallets, by default, it is class 2 commodities. But in the question, there is no information about that one. So we'll try to look out about a possible 2 solution. We have the plastic pallets, right? So this is a plastic pallets. And under we have unreinforced plastic pallet. Unreinforced, and then we have reinforced. Right? Now, NFPA 13, if you go to chapter 20, says that if the commodities is marked with the types of plastic pallets, like if it is reinforced or unreinforced, then it's okay, right? So suppose this product, if marked on the pallets as the unreinforced, so NFPA says that class 2, if it is unreinforced, and then as per NFPA, class 2 product shall increase to further one higher degree commodities classification. So class 2 will become class 4, sorry, class 1, right? Due to unreinforced plastic pellet. But if this plastic pellet is reinforced type, then NFPA says that we have to increase 2 classification. So class 2 will become class 4 commodities classification, right? So for our question, the exact answer will be class 4 commodities based on the NFPA 13. But sadly, around 9% of the people only voted about this 9%, right? Group A plastic is 15%, slightly possibility. It's not problem at all because we have higher degree. But class 2 and class 3 is not acceptable for this commodity classification. And the reason behind we have, if you select class 2 commodities classification, it means you ignored the heat release rate from the plastic pellets, which is reinforced, and in that reinforcement, the steel is tough. So that's steel making the integrity of the pellets for maybe hours. And that steel has some open space between top and bottom of the pellets, and that is a continuous supply of oxygen. So as the oxygen goes on, the material burns until all the plastics burns itself, right? All the mass goes off. So if you select that one, which is the class 2, there is highly chances, around 80% chance or more higher than that, the fire is not going to extinguish because the heat release rate is much more higher than how much water we get from the ceiling sprinklers if it is kept on the floor, right? So that's for now. I hope you got the point and you enjoyed the videos. But I welcome you all that if you have any question, if you have any doubts, right? Or if you have any suggestion for on this commodity classification, you can contact me through various channels. You can text me directly on LinkedIn, or you can contact me through the Facebook. The option is yours. That's for now. Take care. I'll see you next time.